Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Let me just say we had a very powerful, compelling hearing on the events in Afghanistan at the end when the Abbey Gate was compromised and the suicide bomber went off and people were killed. And I think the American people deserve answers, and they want people to be held accountable for that. We haven't had a public hearing specifically on Afghanistan until the one we had just 2 weeks ago. And we heard testimony that, quite frankly, I was not even aware of, that the suicide bomber was, that we had him in our sights. The sniper had him, and he could have been taken out, and the threat could have been eliminated, and lives could have been saved. This is why we've asked you for documents. And so I want to go through the document requests we've made. On January 12th, I sent you this letter requesting documents related to the Afghanistan withdrawal. We did not get that, at that time, did not get that production. So on January 30th, we requested 3 specific items to be delivered February 7th. Most importantly, the descent cable. As you know, 23 of our State Department officials at the embassy in Kabul took the extraordinary measure to raise their dissent to the policy, sir, that you and your administration were effectuating. I think the American people need to see this. We need to know what their dissent was. Why were they objecting to your policy in the failed withdrawal from Afghanistan? Sent another letter on March the 3rd. And another one on March 20th. In fact, Chairman Meeks requested this dissent cable in August 2021 letter. That again, no response. Yet here we are today. I do the after action report. I want to thank you for that production, and I know the ambassador's after action review and is going to be presented in 3 weeks. But we need this dissent cable, and I think the American people deserve to see it, to know what in the world was going on in those critical weeks, especially after the testimony of Sergeant Tyler Vargas Andrews. He deserves to know. Christy Shamblin deserves to know what the dissent was. I have the subpoena. It's right here. And I'm prepared to serve this. Now, we've had discussions. And I think, you know, as a former federal prosecutor, you want to work things out, but when you can't, you have to go forward with a subpoena, an arrest warrant, and indictment. So, sir, I'm going to give you until the close of business on Monday to produce that dissent cable to this committee and this Congress so the American people can see what the employees at the embassy in Kabul were thinking about your policy that they dissented from. Do you have any response?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And first, I want to make clear that we are working to provide all the information that this committee is looking for, and that its oversight responsibilities give it the authority to secure. And as you noted, we just produced the Embassy Action Plan, thousands of pages that go along with that. We're committed to making available and sharing the substance of the after-action review within the next 3 weeks. And you heard that from the White House. And as to the Senate channel cable, I appreciate everything you're saying. And let me just put this very briefly in perspective for members of the committee who may not follow this. This tradition of having a dissent channel is one that is cherished in the department and goes back decades. It's a unique way for anyone in the department to speak truth to power as they see it without fear or favor. And they do it by the regulations we established for these cables in a privileged and confidential way. It is vital to me that we preserve the integrity of that process and of that channel, that we not take any steps that could have a chilling effect on the willingness of others to come forward in the future to express dissenting views on the policies that are being pursued. I read every dissent channel cable that I get. I respond to every dissent channel cable that I get, and we factor into our thinking what we hear from colleagues who have a different view. By our regulations, these cables may only be shared with senior officials in the department. And again, that's to protect the integrity of the process, to make sure we don't have a chilling effect on those who might want to come forward, knowing that they will have their identities protected and that they can do so, again, without fear or favor. Having said that, I very much understand and appreciate that there's a real interest in the substance of that particular cable by this committee. And in that spirit, following up on conversations that we've already had, again, we are prepared to make the relevant information in that cable available, including through a briefing or some other mechanism. So I'm determined to have our team follow up. And Mr. Chairman, as we've discussed, we'll continue to work that in the coming days. I hope that we can reach an accommodation. I really do understand and appreciate the importance of the substance of that information being shared with the committee, and I hope we can find a way to do it that meets both of our needs.
Well, I hope so too. The subpoena specifically asked for the dissent cable. I know it's classified as well, and I appreciate that, but I do want to mention your department cited then Secretary Henry Kissinger's refusal to produce a dissent cable to Congress in the 1970s as a precedent. I would argue you do not have an executive privilege on this cable. And then we reached out to the author of that dissent cable, Ambassador Tom Boyett, earlier this week. He said the reason that Henry Kissinger refused to release the cable was because it was so damaging, so damning. Ambassador Boyett is emphatic about the need for the State Department to produce dissent channel cables. And in a statement he provided to the committee, he says that any claim providing by them to Congress that would have a chilling effect, as your staff has claimed, is, and I quote him directly, bullshit. Not my words, it's the ambassador. He writes, quote, congressional oversight enhances executive responsibility and enables us to learn from the inevitable mistakes, end of quote. So I believe this committee and the American people, after what happened, for God's sakes, after what happened in that dreadful August, need to see this cable. And, sir, we need you to respond. And if you fail, I am prepared to serve you with a subpoena.